will be discussing data dissemination and communication, which is kind of an addition to what Maka told us and also what Bridget told us on Tuesday about how to visualize data. This will be, well, very light and easy topic to discuss. Yes. So what is data dissemination and communication? It is a process of data sharing to an individual or a group of people. But in monitoring and evaluation, data dissemination is a process of sharing many results to the policymakers, stakeholders, but also in some cases to general population as well. So you can share data to any type of audience, even though we are in TB program and we don't really have much communication with general population, still there are some cases where we do. So that's important to remember. And Olga also mentioned, and I will talk about this as well, target audience is very important to define who is your target audience and to adjust your sharing format to that particular audience. Why do we share the data, like in general? MNE results in particular can really help to improve your program interventions. When you share these results to your program staff and you start discussing what is working and what is not working, it really helps you to gain more understanding how your program is working and what needs to be improved. It also can strengthen program goodwill among stakeholders, which means if you share the results, this will and you emphasize what is working well, that is kind of giving credits to people who did this, right? So you're making kind of like positive impression on other in general population as well, because you're showing how your program is working. And sharing the results among stakeholders will help for them to define what are the barriers and what are the activities that are not working as intended. So it will help you to shift your financial resources, human resources, and everything to improve those particular activities. It can also serve as an advocacy tool. So when you share your results to the policymakers, for instance, you will lobby for policy on legislative changes that are needed, and you will share what are the unmet needs that need their attention. So that will be a good tool for you to have their attention. Also, it contributes to the global body of knowledge. When you're sharing your results, and especially in the international conferences or in these kind of meetings when not only one country but several countries are meeting, you're sharing your experience, which can be also positive results because you're sharing what you're doing well, but also it's very important to share negative results as well, because you're saying what are the activities that are not performing as well as you wish to, but that can help first to share your experience, and also second will be to listen to others' feedback, and maybe they will have a very good recommendations or some other their opinions, which will really help you to improve those activities. It also can inform changes in program implementation. For instance, having regular MNE meetings, even within your program and within your staff, when you discuss what is not working, that will be really helpful to early detect in the implementation what is not going very well. And then you will discuss those and have some ideas how to shift your resources in that direction where it will work better than it is right now. And also, it will provide evidence for designing new activities or scaling up existing ones. So in some cases, when you start a new activity, which is very new for your program, it probably will not perform as planned. Most of the time when you plan something, it does not really go as it is planned. So discussing those will really help, like early, not evaluation, but when you have surveillance on those activities will really help you to change what is not working. I will not go in detail with this, but I would just quickly say that M&E results highlight the strengths and accomplishments of your program, but also help identify areas of weakness and those that need improvement, and also will support program planning and management. Will provide information that can then support to modify your services and support the assessment of quality of TB care, to help identify research needs in the program. This is very important, and to strengthen funding proposals for TB. As I already mentioned, and you also mentioned, it's when you're disseminating M&E results to others, it's really important to determine who is the audience, to whom you are sharing your results, and also what is your goal, why you are sharing those results. For instance, if you have some information that probably will need some policy change, you will not you will not discuss this with community, for instance, because they are not policymakers. They will be willing to help, but they are not the first person to go to share those results. So you want to define what is your goal when you're sharing those results and the audience. And when you define your audience, it's really important to think about the language that you're using when you're sharing the data and what type of format you are using to disseminate the data. For instance, if you are sharing these results only with your program or TB professionals, you will not define what is DRTB. You will use this term and you will not define it. But if you're sharing this to the public health professionals, which are not particularly working in TB, when you say DRTB, they won't understand what you're saying. So you have to define that you mean that it's drug-resistant TB. So that's really important. But if it's only TB professionals, then it will take too much time to define drug-resistant TB and so on and so on. And also, yeah, I already mentioned that share both positive and negative findings, because it's also really important for donors, because they will see that you are ready to critically evaluate what you are doing, and you are not only sharing positive results and saying that we are this good, that we are doing everything good, because everyone knows that we are not doing everything very well in any field or in any aspect. What are the common dissemination formats? It can be written reports, oral presentations, or PowerPoint presentations, fact sheets, press releases, and bulletins. So those, when you're thinking about the audience and what you're sharing to them, it's also important what kind of format you will be using to share it. For instance, if you want to talk about your program activity, which did really well, probably, and you want to share it to the general population because you want to show how good your TB program is doing, then probably written report will not really work, because like people who are don't work in TB field will not really read reports. So you can use some kind of social media or newspaper or something which will reach all people in your country. And yeah, it's very important. You also mentioned that it's very important to use narrative, but also visual aids, because just written text especially on the slide presentation, you do not want to expect people to read the slides. I feel like slides are more like for you, the presenter, and you just see and you just like talk about those slides, but you won't expect people to read those slides. People will be listening to you more and just looking at the visuals on the slide presentations. I feel like Bridget also discussed which type of graphs and charts to use, so I will not go into detail, but I will just say quickly that maps will be really good to show some results that are connected to location. If it's connected to the location, probably it's better in a way, probably it's better to use maps. You will use tables and charts to illustrate the comparison, for example, breakdown by regions, new TB cases by regions. Line graphs can be used to show change over time, but you can use bar graphs if you are showing change over time, but among some kind of subgroups, because if you use line graphs for subgroups, it will not be very nice to see. But if you have subgroups, then use bar graphs. And photographs also sometimes it's a very good tool to use. For instance, again, if you're sharing some information information to the general population. You conducted some kind of screening and you want to share it. Then you can just use photographs. And when your results have human face on it, and in this case, the photographs, people get more interested because it has some kind of story behind it. So how to make effective oral presentation? And by that, I mean slide presentations, but if you're just presenting, you don't have any slides, but you're presenting. It's really good if it's very concise and brief, like 20 to 30 minutes. It says maximum, but there will be some cases that it won't be enough, of course. And use visual aids. It can be slides or kind of pictures or graphics or anything. Also, it's good to identify possible questions that your audience may ask beforehand, and it will help you to be prepared to answer those questions. It's better to test equipment before presentation, like microphones and projectors and Sandro and everything, and allow time for questions and answers, which we won't have now because we are in a hurry, as Sandro mentioned, and practice. Especially practicing is very good when you're presenting not in your native language, and mostly we're presenting in English or Russian, which is not our native language. So that might also need some practice at first. I will not tell my personal experience, which I had, but I don't have time, Sandra. No. So I just, nothing like really special, but I just remember when I had my first presentation, which was in English, and it was in the Union Conference, which is International Conference of TB and Lung Health. And I was so nervous. I remember when I was going to the mic, it was like my life was flashing before my eyes, and I was like, now I will die. Now I will, like, before I go there, I will probably die. But as you can see, I did not. But yeah, it's more, you're more nervous when you're presenting not in your language. Can I tell another experience or not? It's funny. So there is this sitcom, Modern Family. I don't know if you have seen it. And one of the characters is from Colombia. So her native language is Spanish, but she speaks in English and she has some kind of accent, which is kind of a joke of this show. And once she says, she's very frustrated, and she says that, you know how smart I am in Spanish, she tells to some person in English. So that's like that. When in our native language, we are a bit smarter than in English, probably. So, but yeah, that can be another issue as well. I will be very fast, Sandra. So when you're preparing your slides, each slide should have a heading, just for audience to know what you are discussing. And it's really important to have your style and layout as consistent as possible, and use phrases instead of complete sentences, because people will not read the whole sentence or should not read the whole sentence. Include no more than 6 or 7 lines per slide, but it can be different as well. It depends what you're presenting, and use bullets effectively. Also, don't use a complicated font. Some fonts takes longer to read. Some fonts are really, like, when you read it, it's really fast. So try to use the easy ones, and use font size that is large enough for others to see. So you can start from the 18 points, but sometimes 18 points, if you're like in a really large room, it won't be enough. So these are just the visualization, how those sizes will look. And also, use bold font or colors for emphasis, but be very careful when using colors. Don't use like a lot of colors. You can use one. Probably it's better to use one color if you want to emphasize something, or it's better to use bold font. Don't use capital letters because it's really hard to read. And don't use a font color that does not contrast with the background, because you cannot read it. I don't know if you can see the yellow one. Yes, you should not see it. It's what yeah. Because you're closer, that's why. So yeah. Yeah, I will show this one. Use legends, labels, and reference points to enhance charts and graphs, and also always title your graphs. And this like shows pie that I have eaten and pie that I have not yet eaten, which is a very optimistic statement. Thank you.